you all ever see Leap? It wasn't that good, but this movie reminds me of a better Leap. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today's movie in the middle is Luca. This newest Pixar movie is about a sea monster named Luca who explores the Italian Riviera with his new friend Alberto. They're in search of a Vespa so they can get on it and ride away and see the world. This movie, like most other Pixar movies, is very visually beautiful. It's just gorgeous to look at. The animation's awesome. All of the colors and, the water, they've really gotten that down. Everything is just so colorful and awesome, and especially because it's set in another country, it's really cool because there's just a lot of things in there that, you don't really see when you have a animated movie set in America. And like other Pixar movies, there's just so many fun moments, not so much in terms of plot, but in terms of character or just little jokes and bits and funny gimmicks. There's this really great one where Luca, whenever he's trying to do something that his mind is telling him, oh, you shouldn't do this or you can't do this, he says, Silencio, Bruno. And that comes up a lot. And it's really cool. There's like just every time he goes to do something, he doesn't make a big deal of it. He just goes, Silencio, Bruno. And then he just goes and does it. So that's something I'm going to be doing now. Definitely the best part of this movie, though, is the emotion, the bond, the friendship between these two characters played by Jacob Tremblay and Jack Dylan Grazer. And just the depth between them and their kind of dynamic of the one, Alberto, being the more fun, outgoing, let's just go ahead and do it, let's see the world kind of guy. But he has some conflict underneath. And then Luca, who doesn't know much about the world because he's been so sheltered. He's never been to the surface before. And so he's like, should I do this? Am I allowed to do this? And he slowly comes out of his shell a little bit. These two very much carried the movie. They were very fun to watch. I just loved their friendship. I loved each of them. They were very, just let's get into some trouble. And it's just fun to watch, especially because they're just these young boys or sea monsters. That is the other part that's very fun about this movie, is the way that they deal with the problem of every time they get wet, they turn back into a sea monster. So they have to try to avoid that as much as they can. They do a pretty good job of making that interesting, considering that happens a lot. As much as I did enjoy this movie, however, it is by far one of Pixar's weakest. And I mean, that's not saying a whole lot considering Pixar's resume. I mean, they've had incredible movies all throughout, and even the ones that aren't great are still really good. But this one, it's got the characters and it's got the heart that it needs, but it doesn't have the plot or story or structure. It is so quick. And I'm not just talking about the fact that it's an hour and 24 minutes. That's like most Pixar movies. It just feels so fast. Like every single thing is just like, you wrote the story beat down on a card and like, all right, let's throw that in there. And then they just did it and they were done. They were like, all right, let's, get on to the next part of the story. Let's get on to the midpoint. Let's get on to whatever. It almost felt like it was a short story, like a short film first, and then they expanded it. The other part about it being so quick is that it just didn't feel like they knew exactly what to do with it. So they just kept throwing things in there. And then eventually we get to the plot like halfway through the movie. It just felt weird. Like I really loved the first act when it's just those two on an island by themselves. And then they get to the city. And that's when it starts to just get like unfocused. But especially the third act, by the time that comes around, it feels like a DreamWorks movie, like a DreamWorks ending. Because Pixar has this thing where they just have such tight storytelling and things that come back at the end that you expect that now. And nothing really was full circle. It just kind of was like, all right, it's ended now. We're happy. It felt very basic and regular. It felt like they didn't know how to end it, so they just kind of made it nice. It felt very DreamWorks, or God help me, Illumination. I don't want to compare Pixar to Illumination, but I may have to. And if we're talking Illumination level stuff, this villain is the worst villain ever. Like, he's just he sucks. He's literally this like 40-year-old man who's taking part in this contest. I think it's a triathlon sort of, eating and biking and swimming. And it's for like teens. So he's literally got no life. His entire existence is, look, I've won this every single year, and he's just such a loser. And at the same time, he's also like really threatening. Like he throws spears at these kids. Like he's a terrible person. This villain was just not deep at all. He was really fucking annoying, and I didn't care at all when he was on screen. To be honest with you, every time he's on screen, I don't feel that threatened, like except for the times that he does sort of like these kind of off the wall things, but for the most part, there's really no stakes in this movie. Like it's a very character based movie, and because of that, and because of the fact that there's not much in the way of a plot, there's just no stakes. Like it just doesn't feel like things have a lot of repercussions. Like there is a moment in this movie that is probably my favorite that absolutely tore my heart out. It was a really good character based moment. And then like 3 minutes later, it's okay. Like it was a really harsh thing that happened, and then it's just resolved. And it just kind of felt again like they were going through the motions. So I didn't really have much to be attached to or to be like, oh, what's going to happen? Something's going to go wrong. Overall, Luca felt like it was going to have a lot of potential. Even though it didn't have a whole lot of marketing, it felt like it could really be cool because it was this original idea about a sea monster in Italy. Like that sounds like it's going to be freaking cool. And it just was very generic. It didn't do a whole lot with it. It did have very great characters and really great friendship and emotion and heart at the center of it, but plot-wise, it just didn't do much. It really felt like they were just like, let's just bang this one out. Let's just throw together the best parts of Finding Nemo and Moana and Little Mermaid and Onward and just put it all into one big movie and see what sticks. Like it definitely could have been its own short film and just that, and I would have been okay with that. Because the first act was really wonderful. By the time we get to the third act, I just feel like there was a lot of wasted potential here. I wouldn't mind if they did like a Luca 2 and did it more about, these characters and their bond and friendships and everything. But I just hope that if they do that, that they have more stakes, more goals, more things to be attached to. I'm going to give Luca a 2.5 out of 4. Wow, that pains me. That Pixar's been that studio that like every time they come out with something, I'm like, this looks like it's gonna be the flop. This looks like it's gonna be the one that doesn't work. And then they all are so good and just get better. So this time I was like, oh, I'm not even worried. I don't know much about this one, but it's gonna be pretty good. Guys, let me know what you thought of Luca in the comments below. I hope you do like it genuinely. It is still a very cute, adorable movie, and people, no matter who you are, you're gonna like it. You're gonna find some comfort or entertainment in it. And as always, keep your hopes high, your stress low, and movies right in the middle. I'll see you guys later.